Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. This is the Confessions of a Global Changemaker show, and I am here with my dear soul sister. I would say she's like my super mum, my other mum, and just an incredible force of just the most incredible spirit who is supporting so many hundreds and about to be millions of change makers all over the world, has partnered with us on the Law of Brand Attraction book and is doing the most amazing things with orphans in Africa. I mean, there is nothing. Look, Molly's giving me a microphone now to speak into. The cat's decided to join us. There is just so much goodness about this amazing lady in front of you now. I'm going to be digging into the background, the history, the success strategies, all of the stuff that this, I mean, you call yourself the higher purpose Pathfinder, but I think you're the most resilient person that I know. You're like the resilient superwoman, I think should actually be your name. Joké, welcome to today's show.
Thank you, Sammy. Wow, that is such a nice introduction. I can't know who's that person.
Joké, I've only actually known you for a few years, but I feel like I've known you a lifetime. One of the things that I've noticed about you that is so like stunning in the simplicity of the way that you work is you very quickly get to the heart of whether someone's on purpose or not. You just seem to have this radar that goes, okay, let's get you on track. This is where you're meant to be. And you have this like sat nav, this inbuilt satellite navigation system that just so beautifully and kindly and gracefully gets people back on track when they're going away from their purpose on this planet. Is this something that you've always instinctively done? Is it something that you've learned? Is it something that you've mastered over time? Is it all of the above things? Take us a little bit behind this like intuitive system that you have going on.
Actually, it started off as a little girl already. I was always sort of feeling I've got to help people beyond my years. I was a little old lady in this young child body, and I started doing it with animals and tuning into animals, and naturally it just happened, and then it just developed from there that I got the confidence. If I understand animals, I can understand children, and my passion started with children. I became an intensive care nursing sister specializing in pediatrics, and babies can't talk. They can't say what the problem is, and that's where it really started getting intuitive. And the doctor, the pediatrician, knew that I didn't have always the language to say what medical problem I'm seeing. She accepted when I said something to watch it. She put the two and two together so much like you do. And she actually, because it was an Afrikaans hospital and I'm actually more Dutch or English, and she accepted that. And we had major things happening there and saving a lot of children that way. And I wasn't aware of what I was actually doing. When you're in your flow, you don't realize it. And then coming to the UK and coming into Brand Builders Club, that's when I started realizing, but I've got to use this. And yeah, that's how it all started.
I mean, it's just fascinating, you know, like you and I have spent a lot of time together, guys and girls. Whenever I am down in London, when I'm running events, I stay with Joké, and we've had a lot of late night conversations, a lot of early morning conversations. We've spoken for hours and hours and hours, and every time, I mean, I just learned something new about you yet again. Every single time we speak or I hear you speak, I learn another facet of this amazing diamond that you are. One of the things that I do know about you from all the conversations we've had is how resilient you are and the amount of stressful situations you've had in your life that you've come through. Now, I know that there's a lot of people that wouldn't have come through even half of what you've been through, not even that much of what you've been through. You've had a life that's almost been given to you with so much trauma, I'm guessing, to test your faith. Like, how much do you want this? How much do you want to be alive? How much do you want to be this pure conscious person that is here to do good. How much do you want it? Because you've had every obstacle thrown in your way. But also on the other side of that, you need to have gone through those experiences so that you can help others who are going through those experiences, so you can navigate them. So I love that we've come up with the fame name that's got Pathfinder in your fame name title, because that's literally what it is. If you're going off path, you get people back on path. And you have a very strong faith about everything that you do, don't you? Like there is nothing, hi Carl, there is nothing that you do that is out of alignment with your faith. And I'm so like, I've been watching you. I watch how in alignment with your faith you are, and you never go off track. You never go wrong, and you have this amazing belief that no matter what, your back is got. You are going to be all right. You just have this faith. Is that something that you've always had as well? Is that something that a mentor has guided you on? Like, how do you even get to that stage of knowing so deeply?
It's strange because I didn't grow up in a family that was in any way religious at that time. And but I've always known as a little girl, I had a dream when I was about 7, and that dream is coming into fruition now. And it's another thing you don't know. It's that has always, I've always been looking for truth. This is my whole thing. My whole value is looking for truth. And sometimes truth is, well, most of the time it's painful. And so I can give truth, but I also take truth. And that's my whole mentor says, what I live by is I want to know the truth in every situation. And I've been in hospital, near-death experiences, and having miracles in my life. And every time they try and protect me of what really is the problem. And I fight with everything I have. Tell me what is wrong so that I can, because if I know, I can do something about it. And my whole life is about that. I want to know. But
you're not a religious person, and this is what throws me off, is because, you know, I've met highly religious people, and then I've met you.
That's actually the biggest compliment you could ever give me.
Really? Because like, you have such a strong connection to God and to spirit, but you don't preach it, you don't ram it down people's throats, you're very gentle with your faith, and I think that's such a beautiful thing about you, and actually how you've been guiding me and mentoring me for the last year to keep on my spiritual accountability has been, you know, if you'd have been religious about it, I don't think I'd have been able to take it, because I haven't grown up with a religion. Like, how many of you watching this now have grown up around highly religious people? How has that impacted on you? I'd really love to know. Because I suppose in my quest for the truth, which I believe we all are, again, how many of you are on a quest for the truth as well? It'd be great to know how many of us are on that same path. What I've found is the more leaders, like, I don't know about you, but I find it quite difficult to respect people. And that doesn't mean I disrespect them, but what it means is I've lived in such a big world of bullshit that I just can call bullshit pretty straight away. Like, I can look at something or someone and I can just call BS on it. And so I find it very difficult. I find it very difficult to trust people from that point of view. I guess once you've learned all of the mind tricks and the mindset hacks, and you've done NLP, and like Carl, who's on the call right now, when you know, when you see other people who have used those skills and they're not using them as a force for good, they're using it to their advantage, I get very kind of, ooh. And so, you know, I see behind the curtain on a lot of things. But then when I look at the people who I do respect, like, it takes me a lot to respect someone. And when I do respect them and I see behind the curtain and I still respect them, what I find is that they are purely driven by faith. And I've been totally surprised by that, because they're not the kind of people, they don't really talk about God, they don't talk about faith, they don't talk about spirit necessarily, but that when I talk to them and we get to really know each other well, 100% of the time, every single one of them who are building a business on purpose, who are driven by something so much bigger than them that they don't even understand it, there's always an element of them that is guided purely by faith. And they're not religious in any way, but they are absolutely 100% connected to who they are and what they're doing. You are one of those.
That's what happened with us. That's what happened with us. Remember, 2:00 in the morning, we just come from the incubator. We were hungry. We hadn't eaten. We were so tired. We were actually too tired to even eat. Our takeaways that we didn't have a chance. And we just come in the train and you said to me, Joké, there's more. I want to know more about you.
Yeah.
And I knew, you knew, but I didn't know how to tell you who I really feel, what I am. And then I just spelt it out. I'm always looking for truth. And the thing is, it's something that you experience. You have to meet, you have to have that personal experience with God. And not that you're unique. He's there for everyone. But I chose that path as a little girl already. And because really something that you don't know, another thing, is that when I was 12, we had the Congo children, refugees, and the nuns coming to stay with us. And it made such an impact on what these people were suffering that I then realized, when my mom said to me, you've got to give your toys and some of your clothes to these children. We didn't have a lot of toys. And I realized then that I want to make a difference. And the suffering, because that's the first time, and I mean, all of us come to a stage when you see bad things happening and you've been in such a secluded life, and then all of a sudden you realize this is real, and you want to make a difference. And I wanted to make a difference to those children. I ended up giving everything I had, and my mom honored me for that. And I was the only one of my sisters that were like that, and I was around this nun all the time. I couldn't understand why she was hurting and crying, and so that's when it all started. So yeah, I think it's just been a calling, and at this age, I'm now coming to the confidence of finding, the wisdom to win and to be speaking to leaders' lives and to make them accountable, but do it in a gentle way, to find the identity, because even though I've flowed in my identity and I've had all the things happening, which has only made me stronger, because it's nothing about me. I mean, I don't rely on myself. That's the thing. I don't have to rely on myself. So I just let it flow, and I recognize people, and it's just lovely. Also, having 8 children in the house, I had to really recognize each child and each child's identity to make them grow up in the right way. And that was also learning. It's all these learning curves, and I'm still learning. Learning.
Oh, I think we all are, definitely. I mean, can you believe that this Wonder Woman of WoW turned 70 just a few months ago? It was crazy. Like, you don't act 70, you don't look 70. You're like one of the most glamorous people I know. And you said yes to being in the law of brand attraction, which I have in my hand right now. Yes, you can order this from the website. You can get it at thelawofbrandattraction.com, so you get your bonuses and things as well. Joké, what I love about your chapter is it's all about resilience. It's all about tapping into that part of you that you didn't even know was there, and making not just a life, but making a commitment to the life that you're here to live, and honoring the higher purpose for which you're actually here. I know that I didn't really feel that calling, or maybe I did feel the calling, but I ignored the calling when I built my agency. And I believe with all of my heart that the reason I was having heart problems was because I wasn't following my heart, and it was totally driving me. It was the universe, spirit, God, whatever you are watching this now, call it. As long as you do call it, as long as you realize there is something greater than us, you don't have to know what it is. You just have to believe that there is something greater You know, and that belief is what has got you through some big situations. Joké, your chapter in the Law of Brand Attraction starts on page 17. So I put you at the beginning of the book because I felt like everything else would be guided after your story. I thought this is such a perfect way to start the book, is to realize that there is that even though you are great and you recognize there's something great about you. If you didn't recognize there's something great about you, you wouldn't pick this book up in the first place. If you didn't recognize there was something more or something else you could be doing, you wouldn't be picking this book up. So the person reading this book, they are on a quest for doing something differently, for learning something different, and for maybe, you know, even if they change just 1% of how they do things as a result of reading this, then that 1% could take them beyond anywhere they've ever been before. And you start your chapter, in fact, your chapter is called There is a Reason for Every Season. Embrace this season as your season, as no season is ever without reason. Well, I'm glad that I haven't had a glass of wine before I read that. In fact, that's your quote. Tell us a bit more about what you mean by that. So because I've heard the reason, season, lifetime. Is this person in your life for a reason? Are they there for a season? Are they there for a lifetime? I've heard that quote before, but you know, there's a reason for every season. Like, is that the same kind of meaning? What do you mean by that?
Well, you know, life has lessons that you've got to learn, and that comes in seasons. Now, if you have a season and the season isn't according to the way you want to live your life, going through a divorce or the things that we are going through now, it's things that we have to go through, but it just makes you stronger. So how I look at it is that when I'm in that season, I know it's going to pass. I just know it's going to pass. So I'm just embracing it and finding out what is the lesson I need to learn.
That's a really good question. You ask yourself this all the time. This is one of the things that I've recognized also about Joké, is whenever something doesn't go to plan, the first thing you say is, I'm asking myself, what's the reason for this? What is the motivation behind this? Why has this happened? Because I suppose you could look at it as cause and effect. Well, I did this and this was the result. I did that 3 months ago, and the reality of it is that it hasn't worked out the way I wanted to now. But there'll be a reason for the way that you did it back then. I guess what it is defining, like, what is ego and what is purpose. Gosh, this is going into a really big, deep conversation today. If you know somebody that loves conversations about the meaning of life, please tag them in and get them in on this call.
This is what I'm going to do is real conversations, you know, and tough conversations, because you have to have it with yourself. And we all talk about life happening. Nobody's immune to any pain or any. It's going to come some other way, but are you resilient to take that? And it's just by embracing it, recognizing, have you made a wrong turn? Have you made a wrong decision? If so, forgive yourself. That was hard. Oh my gosh, it was the hardest thing to forgive myself for my mistakes. And the other one is now to learn that lesson and not do it again. And move on. And that is, I love the U-turns of life, because I've done a lot of U-turns. Just get back. And just ask forgiveness to whoever you've harmed ignorantly. It's mostly ignorance.
And, I think some people aim to do things and other people do it and they don't realize they're doing it. And I guess that comes down to the, is it consciously competent, unconsciously competent, consciously incompetent? You know, it comes down to those things, doesn't it? Now, Joké, I want to dig into your story because how many of you have read Joké's story in The Law of Brand Attraction? Joké is the very first story in the book. And I have to say, like, when I read your story, even knowing you and knowing your stories, even I read your story, I was like, fuck. You know, there were still parts of your story I didn't know. And, you know, and I felt like, actually, throughout this book, even the people that I have known for many, Amanda and I, we've known each other for maybe 9 or 10 years. How many years have we known each other, Amanda? I know Amanda is one of the co-authors as well. She's on the call. we've known each other that long. I'm still finding out things about people. I just love how, you know, when you're called to do something like this, like to be really vulnerable and say, look, if I'm going to support over 1 million small business owners who are at risk or vulnerable or struggling, or they need some strategies to get them to the next level, if I'm going to do that, well, I've got to be raw and real, which is what you're all about, right? I've got to be raw. I've got to be real. I've got to dig into a story that I haven't told anyone before. I mean, you really did. You were very vulnerable in your story. And so without going into the whole thing, and guys and girls, you're going to have to read it. I'm in shock. Say it again.
Sammy, my children don't know that story.
Wow.
And they're adults. They haven't read the book yet. It's not in South Africa. But they don't know that story.
Wow. How do you think they're going to take it?
It was a process.
When they read it?
I don't know. They've got to know. They're adults now. But they don't know the story. I just fought for them.
I mean,
so
the first story that you tell in the book, like I sat there with my mouth open because that was one story that I didn't know about you. And we'll go into that in a little bit of kind of, we'll chunk up and touch on it a little bit, but you have to read it to get the detail. So you start the story and there you are, you're sat in a boardroom, you're selling your company for millions of, was it rand or dollar?
That was pula, which is stronger than the rand.
Right, okay. But you're in South Africa, you're in this boardroom, you're surrounded by all these people who are buying the business, you're sat there, your husband is nowhere to be seen, you don't know where he is, you're there signing the deal of a lifetime for millions and millions of this currency, and there you are, you're sat there completely kind of on your own, very vulnerable, trying to negotiate this deal, and all of a sudden something takes over you. You go into a mode that you never knew you even had within you. You do a deal without even really knowing where this inner spirit has come from. But you stand up for yourself, you do this deal, and you're about to sign the paperwork on the business when they tell you you don't need to sign it because you don't even own the company. I mean, your husband had changed everything over. So there you are. You think you're doing this deal for millions, not even knowing you don't own the company. He's changed all the paperwork. He's changed everything behind your back. And you are in this room on your own. He's not even there. And you find out about that. Then you walk out of the room and you call a close friend of yours to, you know, let them know like what's happening, and find out that actually your husband isn't there with you in that room because he's with your friend's wife. And they're both off together. And I mean, like, I was just like, like all throughout that was just the first part of your story. And I'm just like, crazy. Like, how does somebody go through all of that? You know, like, it's not like you were a housewife. You'd built a very successful business, knowing you were the person behind the business building it anyway. You'd done business with the president of the country. I mean, you did the numbers, yeah. I did the rest. How do you, I mean, what went through your mind at that time? Did you go into victim mode? Like when they say to you, you don't have to sign it because it's not your company anyway. Like, did you go into victim mode? Did you go into fight? Did you fold? Like, what actually happened in that? If I was a fly on the wall, what would I have seen you do?
Again, I go back and I'm quiet. I always see myself walking in a desert, and when there's a storm, when it's a perfect storm, this was a perfect storm. And I had all the commitment of looking after the children. There were 5 at that time, 3 of them at university. So I had to just be quiet. So what I'd see myself walking in the desert and just covering myself with whatever they call it, all those cloths that they have around them, and just sit still and let the storm pass. And when the storm has passed, then I can see clearly. And then all of a sudden I see the oasis is just over there. And if I kept on walking, I would have just missed it. And then you get clarity. So I never make a decision when I'm in a storm. I sit and I meditate, how people say, I go into the word and I get the word, and I know if God is for me, who can be against me? And I know my heart is right. I forgave him. I had to. But I also had to forgive myself for being blindsided. I felt such a fool. And with that, when I spoke to this guy who was our friend to say, I'm moving back to South Africa because I had nothing. And then he told me this. Immediately, his heartbrokenness, I go into mentoring mode. Instead of actually thinking about myself at that moment, because I knew he was in a very bad state. And
well, because he's working with your husband.
Yeah, but he couldn't. I mean, I was in shock, but I'm like that. Somehow when I'm in shock, I think my mother was the same. She's just Dutch old lady, when you're in shock, you actually go into fight mode and I go into helping mode, whatever I have to do.
Yeah.
In survival mode. It's all that adrenaline. And I did that. And I don't know if I went to tell here, but
I think that there's a need to, and I think I know where you're going to go with this. I was actually going to ask you, because you and I had a conversation about this after I read the story, and I was like you're away here, this is a big story, and you've not told it to anybody before. Are you sure you want to tell this story? And Joké says to me, Sammy, that wasn't the whole story. I think that the viewers need to hear what happened next. Because it's not in the book.
Yeah, when I spoke to my friend and I said to him, he was a family friend that and that I'm going to South Africa, I'm just saying goodbye. And then he told me this, and he was in such a state. He says, can I quickly come over? I need to talk to you. I knew that wouldn't be a good idea because both of us now are very, very broken. I mean, that's common sense, you don't. Yes. So I go into my mentoring mode and try and encourage him and everything, and gave him my faith of what's going to happen. I told him all that. But then I didn't have much contact with him because now I am actually very much in survival mode. Yeah. And 3 days later, he committed suicide. That was so tough. And but what behind the scenes story was that I had to keep my composure, because while I was sitting still and letting the storm pass, I recognized that I have the last card. And the last card is that my husband must never know that I know he's having an affair.
So he never even knew you knew?
For a whole year.
Gosh.
For a whole year. And even till this day, my baby is 42 and my eldest is 45. Even till this day, I have never discussed that their father had an affair.
Oh, fuck. Excuse me. So they don't even know. They're going to find out in the book. Oh, wow. I've got goosebumps all over me. I'm actually speechless. Just how do you go through all that? I mean, that was just the start of you finding what you really were made of, wasn't it? Because you then find a house. You have no money at all. You somehow just know it's all going to be all right. You go and take the for sale board out of the front garden and say, this house is mine. I just know that it is. It all works out. You do all these deals, and you talk about these deals in the book that they pay for the house, and it was so intelligent the way you managed it. I don't know where it came from, but you really tapped into something that was from a higher place. I mean, I don't know that, and actually I think you tapped into, because you were in that storm listening, you weren't just in action mode. Your ego didn't take over, your spirit did. And I think that's recognizing that we all as leaders go through this, don't we? But based on our past, if somebody hurt us in the past, we'll probably act that same way now as we did then. And so we become deflective, or we go into victim mode, or the ego takes over instead of the spirit, and then we start making a bigger series of worse decisions. what you did was you sat and listened. You sat and listened. You heard the guidance and said, right, that house is going to be mine. You heard the guidance. Okay, this is what I need to do. And you just kept doing, you just kept following the guidance. You followed your spirit instead of your head. And there you are in this house that you ended up in for years and years. All your children grew up. You even had a grandchild that grew up in that house. That's how many
Now
years
18.
you were
He's now
there.
18.
I mean, it really is. You've been on such an extraordinary journey. You really have. I want to dig into some of the other parts of your chapter. One of the things that you say, this is on page 19 of the book. You said, in one short morning, my world falls apart. Suddenly, nothing is the same. What started off as an exciting business deal has now turned into my biggest nightmare. And you go on to give a quote. Be willing to rest in your incubator and grow to become an innovator. So you just go straight into spirit, absolutely aligned. What do I need to innovate? What do I need to create? And you literally made something out of nothing. I mean, you've adopted children as well, so you have two of your own, and you've got a whole brood of children and grandchildren that you've brought it, that you've looked after, that you've fed, that you've taken them into your home, and you want to do the same on a much larger scale for the orphans in Africa, which I'm totally behind and support 100%, as you know. And then you get to a point where you've got this greatness inside you when you joined Brand Builders, and you had it all there, but you weren't quite sure how to shape it. And now you've brought it all together. And I think actually the book was something that forced you to have to do it, wasn't it? Tell us about what happened. When you said yes to the book, tell us about what happened to you.
Well, the honest truth is, which I always will tell, is I can't say no to Sammy. I have so much respect for Sammy. And I did this. I said yes, because Sammy said I must do it. And I could feel, now Sammy's got a way that if she's not happy with something, she pulls her mouth in a certain way. And
Andrew said that the other day, said, I don't want to get Sammy's face. I'm like,
yeah,
what face?
And I just can't deal with that, So I feel like the child when it gets to Sammy. So
I just believed that it would be so good for you.
Yeah. So and I've always known I've got books inside of me. And when I had a near-death experience about 5 years ago, I was in hospital and I knew I have to fight back. I have to fight back and tell people these stories, because otherwise my life is worthless. And when you get to my age, you've done what you've got to do, and your life is, you're closer to the other side than that side. So you just have to accept that. And I realized, well, this is my opportunity, and I trusted the process. I said yes. And I wrote 4 stories. And then the last day, I decided that is the story. And so, yeah, then the rest just all came in. And then I realized, wow, well, I have had resilience. Yeah, and that is what I've been doing. And then I realized, but the power of that resilience, I've got to share that, because it's not me. I'm no different from anybody else. Anybody can have that. You can tap into that. And so then I started going into the truth process, that I feel I want to have those tough conversations with people to just find their truth. And it's comfortable once you know it. Once you know it, you get your aha moment, or your hallelujah moment, or your, that you say, you got it. Like Doolittle said, I got it. By Jove, she got it. So that's the old story still. And that is what I want to do. I want to help people, leaders especially, to get into that place, because we've been formed for a purpose, and we will never be happy until you find that purpose. Never. And that's what I want to encourage. Find it. I'm a living life of, wow, what kind of lessons and how much did I have to go through to find my purpose? And I'm so happy now that I'm found it.
You're completely in alignment. And I think, it's something that it's totally you. It's a divine purpose. It is totally, it's not something you've manufactured. It's not something you've come up with just for the sake of branding yourself. It is something that is completely and truly and you with integrity to the past that you're bringing forward to support other people for their futures. And it's an amazing and massive legacy that you're leaving, which I believe that each and every one of you watching and listening to this now, it's the same for you as well. That's very true for you. You're definitely on your path to your purpose. But sometimes we let our mind and our questions get in the way. I think one of the biggest things that I see that takes people off path from what they're really meant to be doing, like they feel the pull. Maybe those of you watching this now, right? There'll be one or two of you watching this now that I guarantee will be feeling this, because I did. And I felt the pull to go in the direction that I knew was right. I knew in my gut, I knew in my spirit, I knew in my whole being, that was the way I needed to go. But here's a question that people ask that totally takes them completely off track. Where is the money in this idea? They start getting focused on where the money is in that idea. Well, if this is part of your purpose, you can't think that way. The money will appear. It will just appear, and you have to have faith knowing that it will. But if you're building a movement, if you're building a community, if you're building something bigger than yourself, the money can't help but flow to you. Like, you've got to get your head around the fact that spirit, God, universe, source, energy, it gives back in proportion to what you give out. So I could be giving something to Joké and sitting here expecting Joké to give something back to me, which I don't, by the way, but I could be expecting that. And I'm missing the fact that what I've given to Joké is coming in to me from this person, from this person, from this person. It's coming in from all these other directions because I'm so focused on what I'm getting back from this thing, or this person, or this idea, or this product, or this service. You're so focused on that you miss the fact that it's leading to all these other opportunities, and you're not looking for them because you're looking in the wrong place. And I see that happen so often, and it saddens me. You know, I think there are some serious questions that need to be asked if you are going to build a movement or something bigger than yourself. It needs to be something that doesn't always lead to money. How to Build a Brand was never about the money. It was about, how can I build the world's largest and most valuable brand building resource for entrepreneurs of purpose-driven businesses? I didn't even think about the money. I just knew it was the way I needed to go. I walked away from a £7.8 million business to start something that I'd be giving away for free. But it took me on stages all over the world. It led me to opportunities. It led me to people. It led me to places. It led me to things that very quickly became the profit. And Joké, I think you are the same as me, where, you know, you are so led by faith and you so follow it. You know, the stories you've told me, like you should have been on the street with not a penny to your name. You should have been homeless God knows how many times. You could have been alcoholic. You could have been so many things. But you didn't. You just kept listening to the inner guidance, and you've always had a roof over your head. You've always found that resilience. You've always found that place in you that was greater than the problem.
You know what the secret was? You know what the secret was?
Go ahead. I'd love to know.
I got out of my own way.
Right.
I got out of my own way. Because we can be so, I mean, the poor old me, when I was 14, I was crying and I said to me, I'm getting old and I'm not married and all blah, blah, blah. When I was 14, yeah. And my children said, Mom, but you are going to be old. You're going to get an old man with these bobby socks with a comb in his sock. And, you know, and I was ill, you know. But what I realized then, I've actually grown younger because of my mindset.
Yeah.
Then I was already old and yeah, I wasn't going to go there because I want to live and love and laugh again. And I think that is the key of my resilience as well. It's in the faith that I still want to love. I still want to live. I still want to laugh again. And that is the new season. The new season, I'm embracing it, and the journeys. I'm accepting it.
I mean, there is something that is so different about you, and I think that, you know, there's so many reasons why I love you so much, and so many reasons why I look up to you, so many reasons why I respect you, so many reasons why I model you, so many reasons. I mean, you've given me so much faith in myself. Another friend of mine who I would love you to meet one day, and I've already said at some point I'm going to organise that meeting for you. My dear friend Barbara Brown, and I remember when my business partner, my ex-business partner, left the business, and I went into an outright meltdown. I totally melted down. And I said, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, you know, I've built this whole business around the two of us, and now it's just me. I don't think I'm big enough to build this on my own. This vision is too big. I can't do it on my own. How am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? And she just said to me, well, Sammy, God's not taking applicants for his position.
I love it.
And I was like, what? And I just burst out laughing. She said, you're trying to control something, but there's a total destiny for you. Stop trying to control it. God's not taking applicants for his position. Stop trying to take his place on the throne. He'll guide you. Spirit will guide you. Source will guide you. Stop trying to manage everything. Stop trying to have control of everything. Just let go. Let what did she say? She said, let love and let God. Just, you know, it'll all fall into place for you. But, you know, stop trying to control everything and start just getting on purpose. I think you two will have some very good conversations.
What the wonderful thing about that is, Sammy, is that every lesson, you've got to go through it again. It's an exam that you nip and you're scared. What are you going to do? It? Are you going to do it? But it's like an adrenaline rush, because if you've done it, you know okay, all right, next challenge. You know, and that is the way I handle life. And I think that will give me that resilience always, because like that ball that I did the picture. Did you understand that picture in the book about the ball?
Oh, yes. Let's just have a look at that. I want to come back to it. That is, I believe, towards the end of your chapter. Let me share the screen so the viewers can see it and can look out for it when they read the Law of Brand Attraction book. So, so this is on page 22 of the Law of Brand Attraction. So take us through this, Joké.
It's that when life puts you underwater, you suffocate. When you're in your trauma or in your bad situation, and I think for the times that we're in, this is a very good thing to know that people feel that there's no way out. Okay? You must make that decision. You want to breathe. You want a way out. And you're going to have a way out. You've got to make a conscious decision. I'm going to do it. Just do it. And as you breathe, you jump right out. Now, we have a lot of swimming pools in South Africa, and the children are always sitting on the balls, and they're pushing it under, and it jumps up again. And I'm always thinking, wow, but that is what I've been doing. My life has tried to push me under in so many ways, but in so many different angles. But I've made the decision not to. And I breathed and I pushed out. Now, my faith made me jump up because I want to live. And then I go higher than what I was before. So in other words, it's you don't stay where you were. You don't float on the water. You're going to bounce right up and out and become a higher purpose. You know,
it sounds to me like you've got to be pushed down to bounce up in that situation, haven't you? You've got to push the ball under the water for it to go boink.
Yeah, I'm not going to be there anymore. So if I'm in an unhappy situation, unhappy marriage, there's a way. There's a way out. And now when I say way out, I don't say divorce is the only way out. But there's other ways out. Or you're in a business, or if like I was blindsided by my husband. I mean, I had no cooking clue he was having an affair. I was working so hard to just do the business. And it was in Botswana, by the way. And Botswana, a lady has got no signing rights. It's very much a male-dominated area. So when I go and do the deals, going into the president of Botswana's office, a woman and I won't even say color woman, is going there and doing negotiating, it's not done there. You've
Yeah.
got to earn their respect. And once they've earned your respect, or they've earned respect for you, then they're all open. But it was a push that I had to do. And and I had to confront a lot of things there with the politics, which was very, very scary because you go there with all the guns there. It's all very different.
Well,
there.
actually, you've told me a story when we've been having one of our late night faith chats, and when I've been staying with you, and you were talking about how the president even left you alone in his office to have to go out and sort something out. He trusted you that much. You built such a good relationship with him, and I think that just says so many things about who you are, because you are just a bright light and such a guidance of light. You know, you're safe. You're so safe as a person to be around. You have no hidden agenda. You just are pure. You have integrity. You are all about the truth. And yeah, you make mistakes, but you pull yourself back on path. And I think there's an innocence about you that you have mastered. I don't necessarily know that you've always had it. I think you might have had to master this. I think those of us that are listening and watching this now will have to master this as well, because it's not an easy one. But you give a 10-point kind of inner guidance system for people to, this is on page 21, for people to follow, to live an extraordinary life the easy way, taking the easy path, getting out of your own way and being on path. And point 1 is something that I think will push a lot of buttons, but when you can master this, you'll live a life like Joké, who just, no matter what, just always sit. You're like a cat. You always land on your feet. You just, goodness knows how many lives. If you were a cat, you'd probably be on like 150 lives by now. But you just keep being given that extra token because you're here and you're on path and you're doing the right things. Now, point 1 is I've learned to make peace with myself through self-forgiveness. So not forgiveness, but self-forgiveness. I've learned to make peace with myself through self-forgiveness and the removal of blame and shame, which is, by the way, one of the hardest things to do. And it is, you know, we can go into blame, we can go into shame, we can go into guilt, we can go into procrastination, we can go into limiting beliefs, we can go into perfectionism for all of those reasons that are tucked under the surface as well. But you have this way of being able to just remove those things so that it's almost like when you take that kind of energy into everything you want to do in future, it's tainting everything in future. It's putting a certain filter on everything that you do. And if you can remove that filter before you go into everything else, you have a childlike innocence that inevitably it works because you're not fearful of anything. What is your strategy for that? How do you go through a process of forgiveness and actually really mean it?
That's another story that I had it's on YouTube, and it's my toothpaste story. And that is my first story that I actually spoke to publicly. It was when I was on stage for the first time. And I used a toothpaste. When you squeeze toothpaste, you get toothpaste out. Because your manufacturer has promised you that if you buy toothpaste, you're going to get toothpaste. And I am going back to the manual of my manufacturer, which is the Word of God. And in that it says that if he is for me, who can be against me? And then it says also that if I forgive, if he forgives me for what I do wrong, how can I not forgive anybody else? And then I think of all the things I'm doing wrong and still doing wrong. You've known me. You know how many times you've got to, and I accept it. I accept it. And I really feel, how did I do that? How did I miss it there? And then I have to ask for forgiveness, but then I've got to forgive myself. And that I find it's the hardest, because the attitude is that that's not what you want. You don't want to hurt anybody else. That's not where you want to go. And then by forgiving yourself, if you don't, you go into pride, into me. I'm okay enough. So you have to. And it was the hardest process I've ever had to do, is to learn to forgive myself. But once I learned that, that's how I can bounce back every time, because it just gives me it's like a total U-turn. But then I also do is I pray, whatever I've done wrong, turn it into something right. Because it also helps me to know that I could use it as a lesson. And that's where the raw and real comes in. That I could be raw and real, because I can use that very thing that was ugly about me to make it a right by confessing it, forgiving myself, and now using it to teach other people. Don't go there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what it's about.
I think as entrepreneurs who are solving problems, we have, like, how many of you are a problem solver watching this or listening to this now? Is what we do, isn't it? It's naturally that inbuilt thing in us. I think that's how we become entrepreneurs in the first place, because we just see problems everywhere that we want to fix. We see people in pain that we want to solve. We just want to do something greater and stop the hurt. We want to make things easier for people. And of course, the way we do that is to draw on the experience that we've already had, to give them the gift of that experience. That's what makes a great mentor. That's why mentors get paid so much. That's why mentors should get paid so much. I think that's a key thing. You know, I know a lot of people who could be charging a lot more for what they do through mentoring, even than coaching, because coaching, in my experience, is when you support somebody to come up with an idea that is already within them. So you're like polishing a diamond and supporting them to come up with the solution. A consultant would tell you what to do, but a mentor will show you how they did it. And that's why a mentor can charge so much more. So those of you that are watching right now are thinking, hang on a minute, I should be charging a lot more for my mentoring. Yes, you should, because a mentor will say, here's what I did wrong. Here's how you can avoid it. These are the simple steps to overcome it. And this is how you can do it quickly. This is how you can do it in 10 minutes when I did it in 10 years. It took me 10 years to learn this thing. But, you know, the thing is, you know, people, they're always paying you for the 10 years it took you to learn the thing, not the 10 minutes that you're telling them how to do the thing. So I think when it comes to valuing yourself, there's a big thing around that, certainly. And I know a lot of people that have a faith-based business, they find it incredibly difficult to charge what they're worth, because they feel this is something that's been given to me. How dare I charge for that? But I guess my answer to that would be, if you don't charge for it, how can you continue to give? Because what we give, what we receive, we can give. We can give more. Like with
Absolutely.
right? With one drop, you know, you can, if I don't sell these, yay, if I don't sell these, I can't give 30% of the profits to charities that do really, really good things in the world. So I can give back so that they can pay forward. And I think if all of us can do something like that, then we'd certainly live in a much better world. Joké, you've got a challenge coming up, which I would love for everybody to know. I know that you're just formulating this in the Brand Builders Club now, but you shared it on the Thinkubator yesterday morning. And I love the idea so much. I would love for each and every person who's watching this or listening to this to get in contact with Joké. All of her details are both in the description with this video and also in her chapter of the book. I've put all of the contact details of each and every author in the book so that you can contact them directly and get that mentoring support instantly from the person you resonate with as you go through the book process. Joké, talk to us about this amazing challenge that you've got coming up. I just love the name of it, and it's perfect for you.
Yeah, it's Wisdom to Win, and the number 2. So it's, my email is action 4, number 4. So now this is a wisdom to win. So, and what I've realized is that in the lessons I've learned, I have always been true, like you've said, to who I am. And I haven't tried to change that, because that is, I think, the secret. When you're solid in who you are, even if you're not sure if you're doing the right thing, just be true to yourself. And those true conversations is what I love to have with people, and finding their true identity and their purpose. So it's wisdom to win with passion and purpose, to find your passion and your purpose. So yeah, it's going to go into the truth process, and it's very easy. We have fun. It's not all serious, but as you're having fun, because I love to have fun with the situation, but it hits home,
Yeah.
and then you find where you really fit in, and that's okay. And the wonderful thing is, once you have that, you feel so liberated. So it's all about
Yeah.
liberating yourself into your true purpose, and it's
Yeah.
a process to do that. And so we're
I
going to
think
go.
that for anybody watching this now, if you know somebody who's just about to start a business or has been in business for a while and they're overworking themselves, so they're burning themselves out, you're noticing they're working a lot of hours, so they're obviously working a lot harder on their business than they would need to if they were on purpose and if they were on path. When you're on path, things flow, right? And if they haven't got flow, then they're just going to be working themselves 5 times harder than they need to be. Maybe you're feeling like, oh, I think I need to go through this challenge. And I highly suggest you do. When Joké launches it, I will let you know. But connect with Joké anyway. Like, get on her list so that Joké can tell you when that's coming out. I'm sure. I think it's coming out actually this month, isn't it? You're flying back from South Africa to London. When is it?
Yeah, once I've settled in London, London, 2 days, and then the 15th, I am
So
going
the
to launch
15th
it.
of June. Brilliant. And I'm sure you'll be running that challenge again and again and again, because there are so many people who will. This happened when I ran my first challenge. A lot of people looked in from the outside and were like, oh, we'll see what happens. And then the second time I ran it, they all dived in. All the people that were watching from the outside, they all dived in. So I'm sure you'll be running it again. The wisdom to win. I just absolutely love that. Joké, that sounds like a great title for a book. Obviously, you and I will have a chat about that, because I think there are a lot of ways that you can brand and sub-brand that. Guys and girls, if you haven't bought the book already, go to thelawofbrandattraction.com. Please share it. Share this interview. You never know who's on your timeline who really needs to hear the words that are being said. You might not think it's relevant to anybody that you know, and then you post it and somebody watches it and they have a massive life aha moment because you were brave enough to share it and say, hey, if you're thinking about getting on purpose, if you're thinking that there's any part of your business or your life where you feel like, hang on, is this what I was really born for? If you're asking that question, watch this interview and share this interview. You'll be able to share this from my Facebook page, which is called Sammy Blindell Official. So if you're not watching this now from Sammy Blindell Official, you can go and share it from there, or you can share it from YouTube as well. It's usually available 3 or 4 hours after we finish going live. So you'll be able to share that as well. But I really suggest just share it, because there's been so many golden nuggets in this interview about getting on path, staying on path, hearing the calling, following your intuition, sticking with your inner wisdom, and doing the right thing.
Stop hiding. Come out. It's time to shine.
Wherever you are. Amanda says, I love that. The wisdom to win. Joké, I love you with all of my heart. I can't wait for you to come back to the UK. I can't wait for these restrictions to be lifted so that I can give you a big fat hug. For now, I'm giving you virtual hugs. For all of you that are watching or listening, I'm giving you big virtual hugs as well. Joké, is there anything that you would love to leave our listeners and viewers with today?
Don't hide. It's your time to shine. Let's find your true identity, your passion to your purpose. And I think I'm ready to go for it with you. Hold hands, let's just do it.
Let's just do it. Joké, thank you so much. You're such a lighthouse. Please connect with Joké. She's amazing. When you have Joké in your life, you're just on a path. You're already on the path just by saying yes to even thinking of the idea of having Joké in your life. You're already making a decision that will serve you for a very long time. We will be back tomorrow, same time, same place. So wherever you're watching us from today or listening in, you will find us in the same place tomorrow, same time. I'm looking forward to interviewing another author from the Law of Brand Attraction book. Remember, each and every sale of the book, that all of the proceeds from that book go to supporting the Clear Sky Children's Charity, which supports vulnerable and at-risk children who are our future generation. And Joké, I know how important that is for you. People will get to find out much more about you. Listen to Joké's show. She does a show called Raw and Real. And you'll find out a lot about yourself. You'll learn a lot about yourself through the stories that Joké is sharing on those shows. And I have so much love for each and every one of you watching this, that my desire for you is that you do what lights you up. And as Joké said, it is your time to shine. Go out there, be that brand you want to see in the world, be the drop, be the ripple maker that you want to see in the world. Join us on this journey, this quest to reach millions of lives, not just one at a time. And we'll look forward to seeing you shine and supporting you on the journey to do that. Joké, thank you so much, and I'll see you in England. Take care. We'll see you guys and girls tomorrow. Mwah. Bye.
Bye.